Hi Sharks! Today we're going to do some problem solving together, so you'll need your black and white journal and a pencil. We're going to go through a couple of problems together. I'm going to read them and work through the problems on my screen, and I'm going to have you follow along in your journal. So you'll pause the video at certain times, figure out the problem, and then unpause the video to hear if your answer was correct. So let's get started. So here I have a chart. I'm noticing at the top I see dog treats. I always look at the heading of my chart so I understand what the content is about. On the left-hand side, I see the word type, and I'm noticing there are all different types of dog treats: chew sticks, chewies, dog bites, and puppy chips. Now, if I look across, I then see the number of treats per box. So I see that chew sticks has 14, chewies has 25, and so on. So now that I understand that my problem is about dog treats, let's read our Think Smarter problem and see how we can figure this out. Kevin bought a box of puppy chips for his dog. If he gives his dog 5 treats each day, how many days will one box of treats last? Okay, so let's first underline some important words. I'm going to use my yellow pen to do that. So I know that Kevin bought a box of puppy chips. I know that puppy chips is important because if I look up at my chart, there are many different types of treats. My focus is right here on puppy chips. And I notice there are no other treats in this problem that we're going to be talking about. So I'm also going to circle the chart. Puppy chips, there are 45 per box. So now I visualize that. I picture a box, it says puppy chips on it, and if I were to open that box up, I know there are 45 treats in that box. So I'm going to write that here. I'll get a black color here. So this, I usually just take notes on the side of my paper just to help me. Now, if I go back and read in the problem, I see that he gives his dog 5 treats each day. Okay, so I'm picturing that. Let's start at Sunday. He gave his dog 5 treats. Monday, 5 treats. Tuesday, 5 treats, and so on. So for how many days will one box of treats last? Okay, so I know that my limit is 45. So I'm going to see how many times can I count by 5 to get up to 45. That's how I'm going to think of my problem to start. And there are many different ways I can think about this. If you have another way, you can figure that out, and we will also turn this into a number sentence. So I'm going to just take some notes at the top here. I'm going to count by 5s until I get to 45. And for each of these numbers that I'm writing up here, that each one counts as one day. So this was one day, the second day, third day, fourth day, and so on. So I'm going to skip counting by 5s, because if I look in this problem, I know I'm going to have 5 each time. And I'm going to keep going until I get to 45. So let's see how many days he could give his dog treats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days he could give his dog treats before the box would be empty. Okay, so you have to visualize that. One day he gives 5, the next day another 5, and so they would be finished in 9 days. Now, how can I turn this into a number sentence? Well, I started at 45 treats to begin with. And whenever we're dividing a problem, we take this bigger number, 45, and we divide it up into groups. In this case, we had groups of 5 because we gave 5 treats. Kevin gave 5 treats each day to his dog. And you probably just heard my dog. Did you hear my dog? She just kind of shook off a little bit. You probably could hear her collar. She's laying right beside me listening to our lesson. Maybe she'll learn some division too. Okay, so now I took this 45 and I divided it into 5 each time. And so my quotient is going to be 9 days. Okay, so if I ever need to know how I can label my problem, because word problems should always have a label. at the end. So I can always look in this problem, and we'll color this in a different color. Right after the words how many is usually the label. So there I see the word how many days. Okay, so if you're ever looking for the label, look right after that. All right, good job, sharks. We're going to go on now to the next problem. Okay, so we are now working on our Think Smarter problem. I'm going to get my yellow highlighter to highlight our keywords. A store has 18 red beach balls and 17 green beach balls in boxes of 5 beach balls each. How many boxes of beach balls are at the store? Okay, so I'm seeing that I have 18 red beach balls and 17 green beach balls. So those are some important numbers. And already I know that this problem is going to be a little bit more than one step. It's probably going to be at least a 2-step problem, because then I'm noticing not only do I have my red beach balls and my green beach balls, but now I know that they're in boxes of 5 beach balls each. So you can actually picture that for yourself. So think, if this is a box, there are 5 in each box, and so on. How many boxes of beach balls are at the store? Okay, well, first I'm thinking maybe I should combine the beach balls, because I know I have 18 and 17. So let's add those up together and write that on the side, because we'll get our total number of beach balls that we have in all. So I always write my addition sentence vertically like this. It's easier to regroup and to show your work this way. So 8 plus 7, and you can pause this video now. Solve 8 plus 7. If you need to regroup, don't forget to regroup, and then unpause to find the answer. Okay, so we have 8 plus 7 is 15, and the 1 in 15 is a 10. So I'm going to put my regrouped number up top, and now I'm going to add the 3 ones up for 35. And I'll label 35 beach balls so I know how many there are. So I have 35 beach balls in all, and I'm just going to put a little check mark because I've counted those, I added those together, I combined those. Now these 35 beach balls, if I go back in the problem, I always reread, they're in boxes of 5 beach balls each. So I can't just get 1 beach ball or 3 beach balls, it's going to be 5. So I now have to take these 35 beach balls and I have to divide them. So whenever we divide, we start with our bigger number, and then we sort these items in the bigger number into groups. So I'm going to have 5 per group of beach balls. And here we wrote that, right? 5. We can actually use this picture now to help us, but I'm going to skip count. 5, 10, and then I have another one, 15, and I'm going to keep going until I get to 35. By writing this down, it helps me to have a visual, and then I always double check my work. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So those are all my boxes of beach balls. Let's count how many there are now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7. And what is my label? Well, let's remember, we go up to the question. How many boxes? Right after the words how many is going to be your label. So let's write 7 boxes. Pardon my handwriting, sharks. It's kind of tricky sometimes writing with this pen. All right, so we know we have 7 boxes now of beach balls, and I can picture that they each have 5. Good job figuring that out. That was challenging. Okay, let's go on now to our next problem. Okay, so we have Kelsey. So each month for 6 months, Kelsey completes 5 paintings. How many more paintings does she need to complete before she has completed 38 paintings? All right, so let's go take our yellow again. You could always use a crayon or a highlighter whenever you're completing your math work. So each month for 6 months. So I'm picturing that now. Let's just start with January. January, February, March, April, May, June. In 6 months, Kelsey completes 5 paintings each month. So I'm just kind of thinking, and I read this already, I'm going back, I'm reading it again. So I might even need to read it a third time. So I'm just going to take a little note to help me. I'm going to think, okay, January, she made 5. February, she made another 5. March, she made another 5. April, she made another 5. And I need to count up for 6 months. May, she makes another 5. And June, she makes another 5 paintings. Okay? So that's kind of what I'm thinking now. I kind of think of it, I try to visualize that and put myself in the situation. So here we have our 5 paintings each month that she completes. Now let's figure out first how many paintings she painted over this 6-month time period. And then my question is now a multiple step because now I have the number 38. Do you know what 38 means? What is that going to represent in this problem? We have to figure out how many more does she need to complete until she gets to 38. So I'm thinking if I add this up, if I count my 5s, it's probably not going to equal 38. I have to figure out how many more she needs to reach 38. Okay? So let's count that up. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So Kelsey made 30 paintings. But remember, this was a multiple step problem. And so now I have to figure out how many more does she need until she completes 38. So 2 ways we can do this. We can start at 30 and count on to 38. When we count on, we start with 31, 32, 33, 34, and we see what the difference is between 30 and 38. Or we can subtract vertically, just like we did in our first problem, and see what the answer is. I can take 0 from 8. I would still have 0. So I know that she needs to make 8 more paintings so that she has a total of 38. So 8 more paintings. And if you look after the words, how many, you will see the words more paintings. That helps me to know my label. Okay? Do you see all this work that I did? I want you to remember to always do that when you're figuring out your math problems. Okay? It's very important that you try your best and kind of take notes as you go along. Okay, we're going to complete 2 more problems. We're going to use the line plot for numbers 5 and 6. So if you take a look over here to the right, this is a line plot type of graph. And so I always take a look at the label of my graph. And if I look here, it's the number of computers at home. Okay, so maybe they're taking information about students who have computers at home. Okay, these are the numbers of computers. Now, whenever we have a line plot here, the X stands for a person or a student. Okay, so in this case, we'll just call them students. So if you want to stand up and make an X with your body, think about that. That's what a person is represented on the graph. Okay, so numbers of computers. So 0 computers, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students who have 0 computers. Okay, and so on. If we count how many have 1 computer at home, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students have 1 computer at home, and so on. So let's go to number 5 and see what the question is asking. How many families have exactly 1 computer at home? So I'm going to underline that. 1 computer at home. And because I know that the X's are representing the students, I have to look down here. These are the computers. And so 1, I'm going to circle that. Because 1 computer, that's what my label says. I'm going to see how many students have 1. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students or families. So 6, and I look after the word how many. 6 families have 1 computer at home. So now let's look how many families have more than 1 computer at home. So I'm going to think what numbers on this chart mean more than 1. Well, I know that 2 is more than 1, and 3 is more than 1, and 4 is more than 1. I don't want to count anybody in the 1 column because 1, didn't say 1 or more, it said more than 1. So let's underline that in our problem. More than 1. So now we have to count all of these x's. Go ahead and pause the video and find out how many families have more than 1 computer. Okay, so if we add up all of those numbers, we get 8. Whenever you have a lot of x's like this, it's important to go through and make a little mark every time you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so that you make sure you didn't miss any. So 8 families have more than 1 computer at home. Well, thank you for working with me on these problems. They were a little bit challenging, but the more we practice and the more we take notes, we'll get better and better at them. Bye, sharks.